All right, let's talk about one of the most famous silhouettes in the world, Paris's Sacré-Cœur Basilica. You see it, you think of beauty, peace, faith, right? Well, what if I told you that this incredible building was actually born from war? That it was built on the ashes of a revolution, and even today, it continues to divide an entire nation. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here.
I mean, just look at it. It's perched up on Montmartre, literally the highest point in the city, and it almost feels like it's watching over all of Paris. That brilliant white silhouette. It's like a beacon for artists, for pilgrims, for tourists from all over the world. It is the picture-perfect symbol of the city. Or is it?
And, the numbers totally back that up. We're talking about almost 11 million visitors every single year. That makes it the second most visited monument in Paris, right behind the Eiffel Tower. So, yeah, it is absolutely a global icon, a total must-see. Okay, but here's where it gets complicated. Despite all that popularity, this beloved landmark has a deeply controversial past. I'm talking a past so divisive that really prominent politicians, we're talking even a former prime minister, have said they wish it could be torn down. So how do we get from a postcard perfect church to calls for demolition? To understand that, we've got to go right back to the very beginning. You see, the story of Sacré-Cœur isn't just about architecture. It's about a nation in crisis, a country that was searching for redemption in stone. Its construction was a direct response to one of the absolute most traumatic periods in French history. This timeline really tells you everything you need to know. It all kicks off in 1870 with a humiliating military defeat. That chaos then leads to the Paris Commune in 1871, this radical city government that's just brutally crushed by the French army. And it's right out of that turmoil that the Basilica is born, starting in 1875. And get this, it took all the way until 2022 for this building to finally be listed as a national monument. That alone tells you how deep this controversy really runs. So what exactly was this national vow? Well, it was a project pushed by some really influential conservatives. They saw France's defeat as a kind of divine punishment for what they considered a century of moral decline ever since the French Revolution. For them, the Basilica was like a giant, public apology to God, a massive act of penance meant to erase, as they put it, the crimes which have crowned our sorrows. And this is exactly where the battle lines were drawn. From the moment that very first stone was laid, Sacré-Cœur was never just a church. It was a political statement, and one that immediately kicked off a century of fierce debate. The division was just stark. For its supporters, this was a sacred act of repentance, a way to get back to a conservative moral order. But for opponents on the left, it was a monument built on the graves of thousands of executed communards. And here's the kicker. It was deliberately built on the hill of Montmartre, the exact spot where the Paris Commune uprising began. It wasn't just a monument, it was a statement of conquest. The famous writer Émile Zola captured this feeling perfectly. He didn't see a house of God. He saw a rejection of progress, a penance for a whole century of Enlightenment values like free speech and reason. I mean, his words just show you how deep this ideological rift really was. But let's set aside that political firestorm for a moment because the Basilica is, in its own right, an undeniable architectural triumph. So let's talk about the building itself and just how this vision was brought to life. The architect, a guy named Paul Abadi, went for something called a Romano-Byzantine style. Now, this was a pretty radical move. Instead of the popular neo-Baroque style, think the Opera Garnier, he chose something that looked ancient, something that looked sacred. The message was crystal clear. This building wasn't like the other secular monuments of Paris. It was different. It was above them. And here's one of the Basilica's most magical features. It cleans itself. Seriously! The building is made of a special travertine limestone. When it rains, the stone releases a substance called calcite, which acts like a natural bleach. It's the reason why, even after a century of Parisian pollution, the basilica stays so brilliantly, blindingly white. And when you go inside, the skill is just as breathtaking. The mosaic that covers the ceiling of the apse is immense, spanning almost 475 square meters. To put that in perspective, that's the largest mosaic in all of France and one of the largest in the entire world, and it depicts Christ in majesty. And right at the center of that incredible mosaic, there's an inscription that gets right to the heart of its purpose. It reads, "To the Sacred Heart of Jesus, France fervent, penitent, and grateful." Now that last word, grateful, is so important. It was actually added after World War I,
transforming the monument from just an apology for past sins into a thank you for surviving another devastating war.
The Basilica isn't just a feast for the eyes. It's also home to some of the most impressive sounds in all of France. And that's all thanks to its monumental bell and its grand organ. So, get this number, 18,835 kilograms. That's the weight of the main bell, known as the Savoyard. Weighing almost 19 tons, it is the largest and heaviest bell in France. It was cast back in 1891, a gift from the Diocese of the Savoy region, and its deep tone can be heard from kilometers away. And then you have the grand organ. It's an absolute masterpiece from the legendary builder Aristide Cavaillé-Coll, with 78 stops across 4 keyboards. But here's a fun fact for you. This magnificent instrument wasn't even built for a church. It was originally installed in a private castle before it found its permanent home right here in 1914. So, after more than a century, what has the Sacré-Cœur become? Well, it's pretty clear that this is a place that holds many, often contradictory meanings all at once. Just think about it for a second. It's a sacred site where prayer has been uninterrupted since 1885. It's a massive tourist magnet. It's now an officially protected piece of national heritage. And yet, at the exact same time, it remains a potent symbol of a deep historical wound in French society. It is all of these things, all at once. Ultimately, the story of Sacré-Cœur just goes to show that monuments aren't just static objects. They're active battlegrounds for a nation's memory. And it leaves all of us with a really crucial question. When a landmark means so many different, conflicting things, whose story is the one that actually